Salvete omnes. This is Abbey Latin, Liber Primus, chapter 17. This is the Lectio Latina for chapter 17. Continuing the epic history of the Roman kings. We left off last time with the death of the first Roman king, Romulus, who was deified and became the god Quintus. In this lesson, we're going to continue our tale. Unus e discipulis in ludo Romano magistrum rogavit. Quis erat magister Rex Romanus Secundus. So, unus e discipulis. So, unus, we can see by the ending unus, from unus a this is one. So a single individual and a single masculine individual, because unus, the masculine ending, as opposed to una or unum. E, the preposition e from ex, out of, and then discipulis, from discipulus e, masculine, so student. You can see disco is the root of that. Disco, discere, didici, so learn. Or you could also say learner instead of student. So unus e discipulis. That means that one out of the students. With numerals like unus, typically you show a partitive idea, so out of, that there is one out of a group. You show that partitive idea with the ablative, looks like the ablative of separation, with prepositions e, like here, ex, or you could use de, de, de. You could also use the genitive, partitive genitive, but that is typically used with other nouns, not numerals. So one out of the students. In ludo Romano, in plus the accusative would show motion into or onto, but in plus the ablative is location, in or on. So we are in ludo Romano. We are in a Roman game. Is that game or school? What's the difference? Here it's a Roman school. We are still in that one schoolroom, that one Roman schoolroom we've been in for the past couple stories. You can see up here at the top with the magister and his discipuli, and that one's late in trying to explain himself. Magistrum rogavit. So magistrum, the nominative is magister. So if it were nominative, he would be the subject, the one doing the verb. But magistrum is accusative, so he's the direct object of the verb rogavit, from rogo, rogare, rogavi, rogatus. So rogavit, you can tell, comes from the third principal part, and that's perfect. So perfect tense, and it means he, she, it asked. The subject asked. Who did? One asked. One what? Out of the students. Asked the magistrum, asked the teacher. And where did he do this? In the Roman schoolroom. So one out of the students in the Roman school asked the teacher, Quis erat magister Rex Romanus Secundus. So quis is who, it's the nominative, masculine or feminine form. Who, and then erat, your irregular friend, sum esse fui futurus, to be. Who was, it's the imperfect, so who used to be or who was, who existed for a time, and then note comma, comma, magister, offset by commas, so that's the vocative. It has the exact same form as the nominative. But usually the vocative is not placed first in the sentence. It's usually placed a word or two later on in the sentence to kind of clue you in that this is not the nominative subject you're looking at. It's the vocative direct address. Remember, the only time the vocative changes form is for a second declension noun that ends in us, us. The vocative becomes the letter E, so amicus becomes amicae. If the second declension nominative ends in ius, the vocative is the letter I, pronounced E. So Antonius becomes Antoni. And the vocative of meos is me, mi, me. So my friend in the vocative direct address is mi amicae. So who was teacher? You could even put the vocative pretty much wherever you want in English. So teacher, you're addressing the teacher. Quis erat, who was Rex Romanus Secundus? Who was the Rex, Rex Reges, masculine king, in the nominative, the adjective Romanus Roman, and then Secundus, that is the ordinal Secundus second. Who was Teacher, the second Roman king. Primus Rex Romanus erat Romulus. That was Romulus. We already went over Romulus, who was the second Roman king. So one out of the students in the Roman school asked the teacher, Teacher, who was the second Roman king? Magister responded, there's the nominative of magister, so the teacher is now the subject. The teacher responded from respondeo, respondere, respondi, responsus. The teacher replied, the teacher responded, the teacher answered, and this is his answer. Rex Romanus secundus erat Sabinus, Numa Pompilius nomine. So Rex Romanus, so the Roman king, once again the nominative Rex, Romanus, the Roman king, the second Roman king, Rex Romanus Secundus, erat Sabinus, was, here's our linking verb. So we have a lot of nominatives here, and then we have a linking verb, and then a predicate nominative. A Sabinus, that's not his name, but that's his tribe, Sabinus. He was a Sabine. We talked about the Sabines in the last lesson, the terrible story of the rape of the Sabine women. Well, remember that at the end of that conflict, the Sabine king, Titus Tatius, and Romulus kind of teamed up as two kings wielding power together. When Titus Tatius died, Romulus became the sole king of a unified Roman Sabine people. The second king was a full-on Sabine. Numa Pompilius nomine. He was Numa Pompilius. This is his name in the nominative, and it is it's an appositive of Sabinus. Nomine, by name, in respect to name. You could just say named Numa Pompilius. So the teacher replied, the teacher answered, the second Roman king was a Sabine named Numa Pompilius. And yes, Numa looks like a feminine ending. He's a guy, dude. He's a male. He's a man. Numa Pompilius, nomine. His genitive is numai. He declines like a first declension. So numa, numai, numai, numam, numa. So numai conjunx erat nympha Egeria. So numai conjunx. Conjunx is the nominative here. Sorry, that is the subject. Conjunx literally means the joined together. So it means wife here or spouse. So numai, the genitive. So numas with an apostrophe s, or the wife of, genitive of possession, the wife of Numa, erat nympha Egeria. Erat was the nymph Egeria. Nympha, so nympha I, feminine. It's a nymph. It's a nature spirit from mythology. But apparently this one was real because she was married to the obviously real second king of Rome. Egeria, and that's her name. We typically call her Egeria in English. There is a font in Rome called the Ninfeo de Egeria, and that's apparently the font which Egeria haunted or inhabited. So the wife of Numa was the nymph Egeria. Numa's wife was the nymph Egeria. The nymph Egeria was the wife of Numa. He was married to a nymph. Regi et iura et leges naravit dea, ac magno erat auxilio. So regi, now we have rex, regis, masculine in the dative, regi. So we have an indirect object, et iura et leges naravit. So we have et and its correlative et, so both and, because we have two of them. Both iura and leges. Iura comes from jus iuris neuter. Law, justice is the root of justice, right. So we could say here laws, like in the sense of rights. And at leges, leges from lex, legis, feminine. This is the noun form of your vocab word, the verb lego, legere, legi, lectus. So it's a thing that you read. Literally, it's a thing that's gathered or collected together. A lex is a thing that you can read. So it's the written down form of the law. Jura are your rights, which are sort of intangible things, not really sort of, they inhabit your person. And then lex, legis is the actual written form of the law. Regi et jura et leges naravit dea. So regi, though first in the sentence, is not the nominative subject. He's the dative. Jura et leges, those could be nominative, but if you look at the verb, it's naravit, third person singular, perfect active indicative of narro, narrare, naravi, naratus. So someone told to the king both the rights and the laws, and that someone is the dea. Dea here is the nominative. So she, the goddess, narawit, she told both rights and laws, regi, to the king. So as a nymph, Egeria had special knowledge. She had divine knowledge. She could, some say, see into the future. Therefore, as wife of the Roman king, she was able to advise and guide him. Ak is stronger et, and also magno erat auxilio. Now, magno and auxilio kind of go together here. You're going to learn this use of the dative in a later chapter. But right now, you just need to know that erat, she was for a help, for a great help. You could also translate it as, and she served as a great help. She acted as a great help. Magno auxilio, a great help. Erat, she was. And she was also, ac, she was a great help. So the goddess told both rights and laws to the king, and she served, or she acted, as a great help. Propter Egeriam, multa sacra in regno pacis diuterno, a Numa statuta sunt civibus Romanis. All right, a lot to unpack here. Propter. Propter is the same as ob, they both take the accusative to mean because of or on account of, and on account of this noun Egeriam in the accusative. And that's why Egeria, I feminine, is in the accusative here. On account of Egeria, because of Egeria, multa sacra, multa from multa saum, much plural many, and sacra, that comes from sacer, sacra, sacrum, sacred or holy. Now this is going to be multa sacra. So either the nominative or accusative plural neuter. We're going to leave it at that. Either nominative or accusative plural neuter. So either the subject or the direct object. In plus the accusative would show motion towards, into, or onto, but in plus the ablative, like here in regno, regnum e neuter, kingdom, kingship, well, that's going to be location. In kingdom, in a kingship, or even a reign. Like R-E-I-G-N, a reign, pacis, from pax, pacis, feminine, peace, a reign of peace, and that reign is diuterno. So this adjective diuterno, from diuternus aum, you can tell at its root it's got diu, which means for a long time. So it means a long or long-lasting. Multa sacra in a regno pacis diuterno, in a long-lasting reign of peace. So because of Egeria, there's a lot of sacred stuff in a long-lasting reign of peace. Numa, ab, plus the ablative, shows, separation, right? Motion away from, but with a passive voiced verb, like here, statuta sunt, from statuo, stature, statui, statutus. Well, we should not have an accusative direct object if our verb is in the passive, and it is. So, multa sacras are nominative, many sacred, and because it's plural neuter, things. Many sacred things. I would even say many holy rites. Many holy rites. On account of Egeria, statuta sunt, passive voice verb, many holy rites were established. It's perfect passive. It's the fourth principal part of the verb plus the helping verb sunt. Then statuta, with that a, tells you it agrees with multa sacra. So many holy rites, many sacred things. Statuta sunt, were established. They were set up. Numa, so this is not really separation, but personal agent. Numa is a person. And as agent, He's the actor or the doer of the passive voice verb. So on account of Egeria, it's because of Egeria, many holy rites were established by Numa in a regno diuterno, a long-lasting reign, pacus, of peace, with that genitive of possession nestled snugly in between regno and diuterno. And then we finish off with Reges Romanis, and all that stuff, the holy rites, they were established by Numa for whom? For the dative plural Reges Romanis, from civis, masculine or feminine, you could say C, common, for the Roman citizens. So on account of Egeria, because of Egeria, many holy rites were established by Numa for the Roman citizens in a long-lasting reign of peace. Numa cum conjunge bene ac diu regebat. Numa, that's the nominative, cum plus the ablative, meaning with, either accompaniment or manner. Conjunge, so conjunx conjungus, like it is up here in the nominative conjunx. This right here is the ablative, and it's going to be not manner, not in the manner of a spouse, but with accompaniment. So Numa with his spouse, that would be the nymph Egeria. Bene ac diu regebat. There's bene, the adverb form of bonus, good, so this is well. Ac, and also diu. That was the root of diuterno. This is an adjective meaning long or long-lasting. This is adverb meaning for a long time, or we could just say long. And as an adverb, it's modifying the verb regebat. So rego, regere, rexi, rectum, nearly killed him. Regebat, so third person, singular, imperfect, active, indicative. He was ruling. Numa was ruling. Numa reigned with his spouse bene ac diu, well and long, well and for a long time. Numa was ruling well and for a long time with his spouse. Optime, quis era pueri rex Tertius? Who was, boys, once again offset by commas, boys, the vocative, rex Tertius, the third king, the Tertius. We had Primus, that was Romulus. Secundus rex was Numa, and the nymph Egeria. And then rex Tertius, who's that? Quis erat, who is that? Quis vestrum nobis omnibus narrabit de tertio rege. So quis, who, quis vestrum, these go together. Quis, who, vestrum, of y'all, of ye. Remember those pronouns, vos, vestrum, or vestri. For the genitive, the dative is vobis, the accusative is vos, and the ablative is vobis. So it's y'all plural, ye, you plural. So who of ye, this vestrum right here is the genitive. And it's going to be plural because it's second person plural all the time, vos. And it's who out of y'all, who out of ye. This vestrum is the partitive genitive form. Up here, we had unus e discipulis, one out of the students. Because this was a numeral, we use the ablative for the partitive. Here, because quis is not a numeral, quis who, it's an interrogative, we're going to use the partitive genitive. Who out of ye? Who of ye? Come on, guys, which of you? Who of ye? Nobis omnibus. Nobis is the dative of nos, just as vestrum is the genitive of vos. So nos goes like nos, and its genitives are nostrum, nosri, and then nobis, nos, nobis, for the dative, accusative, and ablative, respectively. So this is the dative. And then it goes with omnibus, omnis, omne, all, every, also in the dative, to omnibus nobis, to all of us. Narrabit, narrabit, third person singular, future, active, indicative. Quis narrabit, who will tell? Who of y'all will tell to all of us? De tertio rege, de plus the ablative means down from. It can also mean about or concerning, as it does here, plus the ablative de tertio rege, about or concerning the Tertio Rege, the third king. Who out of y'all will tell to all of us about the third king? The teacher is asking. So we finish up the second king. Which of you can tell us all about the third king? Surrexit alius puer et magna voce, Tertius rex inquit, erat Tullus Hostilius, acre bellum cum Albanis gessit. So, surrexit alius puer. So, another boy stood up at magna voce, and he said in a great voice, you could also say a loud voice, Tertius rex inquit, the third king, he said, quoth he, inquit. The third king erat Tullus Hostilius, was Tullus Hostilius. The name of the third king, Tullus Hostilius, and just like his name, he was pretty hostile. It's pretty warlike. So, alius puer, another boy, surrexit, stood up, and with a loud voice, in a loud voice, said, the third king was, we have a nominative subject, linking verb, predicate nominative, Tullus Hostilius. Acre bellum cum Albanis gessit. So acre bellum, we have acer, acris, acre, a third declension adjective, three termination. As a three termination, this is its neuter. Acre, either nominative or accusative, singular. And it goes with bellum, bellumi neuter, war. Cum plus the ablative Albanis, and then gessit. So you know your idiom bellum gerere. Here it is. It's just gerere has been conjugated to gessit in the third person singular perfect active indicative. So acre bellum cum Albanis gessit. The subject is not the harsh war, because the war, the bellum, is the object of gessit in the accusative. The subject is still Tullus Hostilius. So Tullus Hostilius gessit, he waged a acre bellum, a fierce, harsh, or bitter war, cum Albanis, with the Albans. Remember the Albans, they are the inhabitants of Alba Longa. That was where Romulus and Remus originally came from. That was founded by Ascanius Iulus, the son of Aeneas, after Aeneas died. So remember, Roma, was founded by Romulus and also Remus. They were princes of Alba Longa. Remember, they were set on the Tiber River at the behest of their wicked uncle Amulius, their wicked granduncle Amulius. In bello Albano, the Albani, curiatii patriam defendebat, et contra tres fratres Romanos Horatios in certamine magno pugnabat. So, in bello Albano, so in the Alban War, the Albani, tres fratres Albani, three Alban brothers, curiatii, they are called the curiatii, that is their name in the appositive. They are the three Alban brothers in this Alban War. They patriam defendebant. They patriam in the accusative, the object of defendebant, third person, plural, imperfect, active, indicative. They were defending. So in the Alban War, three Alban brothers, the curiatii, a singular would be curiatios, so one of the curiatii, they were defending their homeland. They were defending Alba Longa, Mount Alban. Et contra tres fratres Romanos, and contra tres fratres Romanos, and against, takes the accusative, tres fratres Romanos, three Roman brothers, the Horatios, and that's their name in the accusative, the appositive with tres fratres Romanos. So they're actually triplets. We have triplets on the Alban side, they are the curiatii, and then triplets on the Roman side, they are the Horatii. In certamine magno pugnabant. In certamine magno, remember certamenis neuter is a struggle, a contest. It's the result of a certare, of struggling. So a contest that is magno, magnus a big, large, great. And pugnabant, third person plural, just like defendebant, imperfect active indicative. And they were fighting against these three Roman brothers, the Horatii, in a great struggle. So I've got the painting here, Oath of the Horatii by Jacques-Louis David. So here you have the father. He is holding the swords, and he is having the Horatii, the Roman triplets, swear, very fascist-looking salute, upon their swords that they're going to fight in honor of Rome. Meanwhile, the womenfolk and the children are over here weeping, oh no, how terrible, how sad it is that this is going to happen. Note the use of perspective. Yes, the perspective is very nice on this one. So, cives Romani Albanique certamen spectaverunt. So, cives Romani Albanique. So, the cives Romani, the Roman citizens, and remember, que is translated before the word to which it is attached, and the Albans, they spectaverunt, they watched, they looked at the certamen, they looked at the struggle, the contest. So it's decided, once it's realized that there are triplets on the Roman side and triplets on the Alban side, why don't we just have the triplets fight to the death and then they decide who wins the war? And it would save a lot of other people from having to die. Just you triplets may die, but that's a sacrifice that, everyone else is willing to make. So the Roman citizens and the Alban citizens, they looked at, or they watched the spectacle. They were spectators at the struggle, their certamen, the contest, because they're going to fight to the death. Great contest. Diu atque acriter pugnatum est. Diu, once again, long-lasting, adverb. Atque, and also, this is the form of ac. It's ac when the next word starts with a consonant. It's atque when the next word starts with a vowel, like acriter. So it's not just diu, it is also, and don't forget acriter, which is the adverb form of acer, acris, acre. Remember, if it's a third declension, three termination or two termination adjective, its adverb is formed by adding iter to the stem. So acer is the stem, and then iter, acriter. So long-lasting, long and harshly, bitterly, ferociously, pugnatum est. It was fought. Pugnatum est. Keep in mind that Latin is much more comfortable with the passive voice than English is, and it's perfectly fine putting a verb in the passive voice with the subject being it. It was fought, diu atque acriter, harshly, ferociously, and for a long time. Long and bitterly was it fought. Or you could even just write, they fought long and bitterly. Postquam tres curiatii graviter vulnerati erant, et duo ex Horatiis erant interfecti. Frater Horatiorum vivus curatio suicit, et tres necavit. Oh my goodness. So postquam, after, tres curiatii, so three curiatii. This is the nominative. This is a nominative plural. This is our subject. After three curiatii, so they're the Albans. After the three curiatii brothers, they graviter vulnerati erant. So graviter, like acriter. Graviter is an adverb of the third declension. Gravis, grave is a two termination. So three terminations like acer and two terminations like gravis, they form their adverbs by adding iter to the stem. So graviter, like acriter. Gravely, seriously, heavily, probably, could be heavily, they were heavily wounded, seriously wounded, gravely wounded. It goes with the verb because adverbs modify verbs and adjectives and other adverbs. Vulnerati erant, so vulnero, vulnerare, vulneravi, vulneratus, to wound, to make a vulnus, vulnerus neuter, a wound. And with the fourth principal part and the E ending, vulnerati, nominative plural, agreeing with the three Curiati brothers, they've been dealt some pretty grievous wounds. Errant. So that makes it third person plural and pluperfect passive. So the three Curiati brothers had been gravely wounded. Okay, so they had been dealt grievous wounds. Et duo and two, we're getting a workout with our numerals. Duo two ex horatiis errant interfecti, and two out of the horatiis. So two from, we have a numeral, x plus the ablative to show the partitive idea. Remember that in H in Latin is almost silent. It becomes silent in the Romance languages, but in classical Latin it's still kind of there. It's very slight. So much so that the Romans kind of act like it's not there at times. Therefore, x, we use the x. Just like if it's not there and this word began with a vowel, horatis. Duo ex horatiis errant interfecti. So errant interfecti, it's like vulnerati errant, only I just flippity-dipped it around. So I put the helping verb first and then interfecti, the participle part of the verb next. If you like to read it as interfecti errant, go right ahead. But they had been killed. You'll meet interficio in the next chapter. Interficio, interficere, interfeci, interfectus. To kill, to murder, to slay. It's sort of the multi-purpose catch-all Latin verb for kill or slay, murder. So after three Curiati had been gravely wounded, and two out of the horati, the Romans, had been killed. Oh, well, never tell me the odds. So three Albans were seriously wounded. Two Romans are dead in this Certamine Magno, in this great struggle. Frater Horatiorum vivus, the frater, the brother of the Horatii, so partitive genitive, the brother of the Horatii, vivus, alive. So the one brother of the Horatii left alive, vivus. That's an adjective, vivusaum. He curatios vicit. So curatios, that's in the accusative, plural masculine, the direct object of vicit. From winco, vincere, vici, victus, he defeated, he conquered, he winned over, he won over the Curiati. So he defeated them. After the three Curiati had been gravely wounded and two of the Horatii had been slain, the living brother of the Horatii conquered, defeated, won over the Curiati et tres necavit, and he necavit, he killed, neco necari, he made corpses of the three of them. He killed the three of them. He slew the three of them. Basically, he ran around, he was the only one left, the one Roman Horatii. So pick two of these guys and close their poor little eyes, they're dead. So this guy is left alive, let's say. The three Alban Curiati had been wounded in some way, like they took on, a sword slash or a spear thrust to the side or to the thigh or to the leg or whatever, what have you. And so the one Roman brother, he just runs around the field, around the arena, the whatever area they had picked out for the contest, such that he had separated the three brothers, and thus separating them, divide and conquer. He then was able to defeat them separately. He didn't let them band together. And thus, the Romans won. All right, cives surrexerunt, et Horatium in urbem magno cum gaudio duxerunt. So, cives, the citizens, surrexerunt, surgo, surgere, surrexis, surrectus, they rose, they stood up, because they're sitting around watching this contest. They rose up, et Horatium in urbem, and Horatium is the accusative direct object. In plus the accusative shows motion into, so they're going into the urbis feminine, into the city. Magno cum gaudio duxerunt, magno, magnus aum, big, large, great in size or importance. Cum plus the ablative cum gaudio. Gaudio, that comes from gaudium e neuter, which means joy or gladness. So it's magno cum gaudio. This is ablative of manner. It's almost adverbial. It goes with the verb. It describes how the action of the verb was carried out. So they, the citizens, they stood up and they duxerunt, from duco, ducere, duxi, ductus. Remember, it's the irregular imperative duc, plural ducite. This is third plural, perfect active indicative. They led, L-E-D, led. And they led Horatius into the city, they mean Rome, with great joy. Yay, they won the war against their one mother city. Albani, Tullo Hostilio tradiderunt, et Rex Romanus album longum vastavit. So the Albani, nominative plural masculine, the Albans, Tullo Hostilio, that is the dative of Tullus Hostilius. Remember, he is the Rex Tertius Romanus, the third Roman king. And tradiderunt, they trado, tradere, tradidi, traditus, to transdo, they handed over. They surrendered. The Albans surrendered to Tullus Hostilius because they lost the bet, they lost the deal with the triplets fighting each other. Probably wasn't the greatest idea in the world. Et Rex Romanus, and the Rex Romanus, and the Roman king in the nominative, that would be Tullus Hostilius, album longum vastavit, and the Roman king vastavit, from vasto, vastare, vastavi, vastatus. If you put a de in front of it, de vasto, you get something close to the English word devastate. In fact, you do get the English word devastate. You also get waste, to lay waste to. And the Roman king laid waste to Alba Longa. Alba Longa is one of the lost cities of Italy because it was vastavit. It was laid waste, vastata. Laid waste to by the third king of Rome, Tullus Hostilius. I wonder if he's going to get in trouble for that. Yeah, but who could ever hold him accountable? Oh, I don't know. We'll see. So the Albans surrendered to Tullus Hostilius, and the Roman king laid waste. He destroyed, he devastated Alba Longa. Optimum, clamavit magister, est responsum tuum. Quid est nomen tibi? Optimum, so optimus aum means the best. You know how like you get an A on the quiz, you get an optime. Clamavit magister, third person singular perfect active indicative of clamo, clamare, to shout, to cry out, and magister is the nominative of teacher. So the alias puer, the other boy, another boy who had rose and spoken up. He told the story about the Curatii and the Horatii, the triplets who fought, and the third Roman king. And the teacher is praising his answer. Optimum est responsum tuum. That is, your answer is the best. Optimum can also mean very good. Your answer is very good. Est responsum tuum. Responsum, notice it's related to respondeo, respondere, respondi, responsus. So responsum. Responsum in neuter, a response, an answer. And an answer that belongs to tuus to you. Your answer is very good, clamavit magister, shouted the teacher. Quid est nomen tibi? Quid est? What is nomen? Nomen, nominus, name, neuter, tibi. Tibi is a possessive dative, dative of possession. What is the name to you? Or what is your name? Teacher's asking the student, all right, puer, what's your name? Puer inquit, puer nomen mihi inquit, est Marcus Horatius Pulvillus. Gens mea est eadem ac fratrum Horatiorum. Fabulam de tribus fratribus pater mihi narravit. No. So the puer inquit, the boy, said, nomen mihi, the name to me, my name. Nomen is the nominative subject, mihi, dative of possession. The name to me est, is Marcus Horatius Pulvillus. Get out your your notes on Roman names again if you need to. The praenomen, the nomen, and then the cognomen. The praenomen is the first name. Remember, Roman boys, they're given praenomina or a praenomen. There are 16 praenomina in the time of the Emperor Augustus, and Marcus is one of them. So praenomina, they're not very varied. Horatius. So Horatius is his nomen. That's his family name. Weird. Where have we seen that name? I feel like we just saw that name somewhere. Oh well, whatever. And then because some families, some gens, some tribes, like the Horatius, the gens Horatia, the Horatius gens, the family Horatius, like in the story, those families get kind of big. Those gens get kind of large, those houses, those big families. So the cognomina were brought about in order to, one, distinguish between different members of the same gens, but then they become the distinguishing factor between different branches of the same gens, because those families get big, but they're different branches of the same tree. So this is the Pulvilus branch of the Horatius tree, if you want to think about it that way. So he says, my name is Marcus, of the house Horatius, of the branch Pulvilus. Gens mea, gens gentis, feminine, that's that family, the gens. He's the gens Horatia. My family, gens mea, mea my family is, we have the linking verb est, is eadem. Eadem means the same. And it's usually followed by ac or atque. If the next word were a vowel, it would be atque, but next word's a consonant, so ac. My family is the same as the fratrum Horatiorum, as the Horatius brothers. So my family is the same as the Horatius brothers, because he's in the gens Horatia. This kid is a descendant of the Horatius brothers in the story, which perhaps is how he knew the story so well. Fabulam de tribus fratribus pater mihi naravit. Fabulam, from fabula, I feminine, a story, a fable. How fabulous. De, down from, here it means about or concerning, about the tribus fratribus, about the, tribus comes from tres, three, about the three frater fratris masculine brothers, about the three brothers, the story we just heard, the story about the three brothers we just heard, well, his pater, patris masculine, his father, subject of the verb naravit, told the story about the three brothers to me, mihi. Mihi being the dative of ego. Ego, mehi, mihi, me. So my father told the story about the three brothers to me. So he's just telling the class and the teacher the story about what his father had told him about a little bit of his personal family history. Optime, very well done. You are now ready to move on to the next chapter. Valete omnes.